Hi, I'm Steve Saylor. I'm blind, and if you're wondering how I'm able to play video games if I'm blind, if you take a look at the video here, or if it's not there, click the link in the description down below to see exactly what I see when I'm playing video games. I am going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla today, and normally I would be giving my accessibility impressions where I sort of talk a little bit about the game, I sort of list what accessibility options are in this game, and what I liked, what I didn't like, and kind of give my final recommendation for this. And I tried to be able to kind of create that video that I normally do, but I felt like it wasn't authentic, and I felt like I was kind of, in a way, not necessarily trying to hide certain things from you, but I felt that this sort of unedited type video, where I apologize if I go into rants or tangents in this, felt it was more like I'm sitting down to have a conversation with you and being as authentic and as honest as I possibly can. Don't worry, it's not all bad, but there are definitely some things that I need to sort of discuss. First off, I want to at least mention that if you haven't seen my preview video of Valhalla, where I got to play a 6-hour demo of the game, I list sort of what accessibility options are in the final version of the game. I definitely recommend checking that out, because even though I didn't really get to see some of the accessibility options in the demo that I played, I did get to sort of list off what was there and what was going to be in the final version of the game. And I would recommend checking that out to kind of add extra context into this video. This go around for this video, this kind of final accessibility impressions, is bittersweet. Let's just say that. Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. Because full disclosure, I'm listed in the credits of this game under the special thanks. I feel like I need to disclose that because I hope it kind of gives context as to what I'm going to be talking about with this game, because I am extremely proud of being a part of this game. And in the crazy year that is 2020, not only am I like, one of my ultimate goals with being in the accessibility side of things was to have a video game credit. In this year of years for me, I'm not only listed as a credits in one game, but in two, with Watch Dogs Legion and Valhalla. And I can't thank Ubisoft enough for bringing me in and a few of my accessibility friends in 2018 to an accessibility workshop in Montreal, where we got to talk to several of the teams that are working on different projects, and Watch Dogs Legion and Valhalla was like two of those teams. And we get to sort of mention sort of what we would love to be able to see in Assassin's Creed game and what we love to see in a Watch Dogs game. And that's really cool. And I'm extremely proud of that fact. And in a way, even with this, regardless of what I say in this video, I am still really proud of this, because there were certain things in this game that I am really happy about. It seemed like that the team listened and incorporated into their game, that I was really happy to be able to see. But I need to at least let you know that, like, what I say is with love, not with hate or anger or disappointment. Like, I have to talk about this because I have to be honest. And with this game, I'm basically kind of like the premise of kind of what I'm talking about, or at least the theory that I'm kind of going with, is that the core gameplay of Valhalla is in conflict with the accessibility of this game. Kind of put into context, with the modern version of Assassin's Creed games, with Origins and Odyssey, and the RPG style elements that Ubisoft sort of infused into the Assassin's Creed franchise, was sort of like a nice breath of fresh air to a decade plus long journey of the Assassin's Creed franchise. And I applauded Ubisoft even at that point for just what they were doing for accessibility, and even with some of the improvements I would love to have been able to see in the Assassin's Creed franchise, when I was playing Origins and Odyssey, I felt like that it was almost there. They almost had it. Like like with a few tweaks and things here and there, and a few options kind of added in, this would have been an ultimately amazing, accessible game that I would love to be able to sort of shout from the mountaintops of like, this is another great example of accessibility in the video game industry. And it seems that, at least as of this recording, I've talked to a few of my friends, especially CanIPlayThat, and there's actually 3 articles, 3 reviews up on CanIPlayThat.com right now. I'll link to the description of them down below, and it seems that they kind of had a similar frustrations with this game. And also I want to mention that there's a great cognitive accessibility video done by Stacey Jenkins, link to her video in the description as well. And it seems that we kind of come together, at least in regards to like we're of the same mind with this. And so when it comes to the kind of core gameplay, it seemed that the team wanted to be able to kind of reach back into the past of Assassin's Creed games and try to add back in some of the stealth elements and some of the exploration elements of the previous games, and try to be able to infuse that into the new modern version of Assassin's Creed. And while on paper that sounds amazing, that sounds really cool, because it seems like it's kind of marrying the two sort of aspects of the franchise together. And it seemed like according to other reviews that are out today, that are giving it 8s and 9s out of 10s, it seems like that sort of was a success on paper. But unfortunately, some of those core gameplay elements that were in previous Assassin's Creed games is kind of what sort of causes the game to be almost inaccessible. Some of those core elements were like not accessible in previous games. Now add a new sort of barriers to accessibility, that the accessibility options in this, while amazing, seem to fight against. And this comes across all over sort of the different disability spectrums for blindness, for deaf and hard of hearing, for motor disability, for cognitive disability. It seems like the two are fighting each other, and they're at a stalemate as to who's winning. And it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be a conflict of the two. But I do want to be able to mention some of the cool things that are there, because, like I said, the reason why I'm proud of being in the credits of this, it seems that there was so many amazing like accessibility options for the blind and for low vision that I was really excited about. That seemed like that they did listen to me and to my fellow accessibility advocates, that they were listening and they were adding into the game. They're like, even on my side, I'll talk about my side, because I recommend checking the reviews below to kind of get a broader picture of all the other disability. But I want to mention at least the blind stuff, because I feel like that hasn't really been talked about fully as of yet. And if I find some accessibility reviews for blindness, I'll link in the description below as well. There's a lot here. There's menu narration, large icons, large text pretty much almost across the entire game. I'd say about 97% of the entire game has large enough text that it makes it like really like easier, more comfortable to be able to read. And there's a lot of contrast with a lot of the icons and the menu UI, and like even the subtitles is probably the one, like aesthetically the coolest looking subtitles that I found. And it's not like that they did anything different or new. It just, like, to me, even the largest size of the subtitles looked really great. And it was a joy to be able to kind of see and experience and discover some of the cool options that were there that I've been wanting in the games in the previous 2 that they added into Valhalla. I am extremely proud that I had sort of like a small, tiny little like impact. If I was sort of the light that kind of shown the journey, or at least the pathway to get to that point, I'm extremely proud of that. But it with all those options, with all those really great options in it, it just seems to be in core conflict with the rest of the game. To kind of put into a few examples as to how frustrating it can be when playing it, mostly kind of comes down to the exploration and the combat, which in a way kind of almost is pretty much the entire game, but there are a few instances that I definitely want to sort of call out that not necessarily completely encompasses the whole game, but some of the core elements of the game, it makes it difficult and adds more barriers that didn't need to be there, but because they were added in with the new stuff that was added in, it sort of took away some of the stuff that made the previous games more accessible. And let's put in perspective, using your Raven sight, or like your Raven or your Odin sight capabilities in this. In previous games, you could be able to use your eagle and some of your abilities to kind of like highlight certain enemies and certain aspects of an area that you're able to kind of like find your objectives or plan out your plan of attack for a fort to go in stealthily and like and basically kind of do the things that you would love, like you love to be able to do as an assassin. And for me, when I like to be able to play these games, I like to be able to go in stealthily. I like to be able to go into a fort. In the previous games I could basically find this, like with my eagle, find the secret entrance, go in there, tag all the enemies that I could see, or that the eagle can be able to see, and kind of plan out my attack. And my goal was to be able to go in and out of a fort without anyone realizing that I was there. In this, I couldn't do that even once, because the Raven is almost completely unusable to me. The only thing it does is just sort of highlight an area of where I need to go, and it can tag one enemy at a time. And then I'm supposed to use Odin's sight to kind of like tag the rest of the enemies with a highlight of red and finding certain objects in the game. And it just, with those two combined, it basically doesn't make up for the lack of things that are missing from the previous games in this. And there was many times where I tried to be able to go into an area where there was a bunch of enemies and there was my objective that was there, where I wanted to be able to go in stealthily. And I spent a lot of time basically like planning on my attack, scanning as much as I can with Odin's sight, constantly spamming that R3 button just to kind of make sure I tagged as many of the enemies as possible, and going in and trying to be able to take out the rest of take out all the enemies and find my objective without anyone knowing I'm there. In this, I would go in, I would spend all that time doing it, take out maybe a few enemies here and there, and then there'd be that one enemy that I didn't see or couldn't be able to find, and would find me, and then would alert every other enemy that's there, and then I'm forced to basically fight them all in one go. And I was too frustrated trying to be like, I spent all that time trying to be able to plan out my attack that I didn't even feel like even like purposely dying so I can kind of go back and try it again, because I spent so much time, and it would be a waste of time to try to do that all over again. And it just sort of forces you to sort of go into combat situations where I didn't want to. I felt frustrated by that. Another aspect of it, kind of outside of combat or stealth, is when you're trying to be able to find your objective or find that person that you need to be able to find, or find that object. There were many times I'm like frustratingly trying to like search around an area that the Raven pointed out. It's somewhere in here. It's somewhere in this kind of span of space that it's saying the objective is there, but I'm constantly running around trying to wait. Okay, how do I I can see the objective is underneath me. Okay, so how do I find where do I need to go to get down there? And I'm spending like 10, 15, sometimes up to 20 minutes just trying to find like the next part of the objective. And whether it's a person or a thing, it was just so frustrating, because they took away the ability to be able to kind of tag that one objective or that one person I needed to talk to. That was in the previous games, where I would look out into a crowd, and if there's someone I needed to talk to, I would have no idea who it was until like, unless I looked at the compass and a little bit the map, and then I was like, okay, I'm close-ish. And then I look at the compass and I see the how much distance they are away. And I'm like, okay, it's in this area. It's in this area. I just can't find it. And whereas in the previous game, like, it would, once you use your eagle, it would tag the person. Once it find it, it tag the person. And I'm like, okay, great, I can go there. Perfect. Then I can be able to move on. But I spent so much time getting lost that I didn't want to even finish the quest. And there was many times that throughout the game, you'll find a bunch of side quests and stuff you can be able to explore and find. And after a while, I just didn't want to do it. I just wanted to kind of just focus in on the main story. And that hurts, because that was some of the things I loved about Origins and Odyssey, was kind of finding different side quests and things I could be able to like locate and going in through tombs and underground areas and finding cool new treasures and items and artifacts that I could be able to find. That's some of the things I loved in the previous games. And I just got so frustrated that I'm just like, I can't. I don't want to do them. And then to add a third thing into that, when it comes to the areas where you have to do combat, and it's when it comes to like raiding and sieging fortresses and stuff like that, when you're in that kind of combat scenario, it is, I would attack certain people that I didn't even realize were my own crew, because the distinguishing the contrast of trying to figure out who's my own crew and who is an enemy was so hard that the only time I knew I was attacking an enemy was I had to constantly spam the target lock button to be able to see like where I'm supposed to like hit. And yes, there is an auto like target lock aspect in the game, but I found that several times it would sort of jump around to different people that weren't even near where I was running around, that essentially that's why I had to constantly sort of hit the target lock just to kind of try to work within sort of like the frantic combat that you're in. And even then, it was like you could only distinguish them because they had a health bar above their heads. Sometimes you'd see like a lieutenant or a captain that you're fighting, and they have like their names highlighted in yellow above their heads, and that is constant once you find them, and you can be able to attack them that way. But more often than not, I found myself attacking my own guys, and thank God, like, you can't kill them, because otherwise I would have killed my crew 5 times over by then. That's not any good. So with all that in mind, it like, the accessibility tries to help. There's full captions that try to be able to like let you know where things are. There's visualizations of sound to know when arrows or enemies are attacking in different directions that are off screen. You can be able to remap the controls for motor disabilities, and you can sort of like you can do stuff for blind accessibility and kind of help sort of distinguish who's who and sort of the exploration and some of the menu and the HUD items. And there's a lot in there that would be great. It just, if the gameplay would cooperate and let the accessibility help. And I've seen actually now like a few places where some of the developers have kind of said that they have like kind of removed some of the stuff from Origins and Odyssey because if they felt like it was sort of cheating or a push button to win scenario that they didn't like, that felt like it made the game too easy or like it just, I don't want to put like, I don't want to misquote anybody, so I won't go further into that, but it felt like that they were like there was two teams trying to be able to, or two focus like focuses of thought, and where they tried to be able to make the game accessible, but they also tried to be able to make it like the Assassin's Creed games that we like. But the problem with the Assassin's Creed games that we all liked, they weren't accessible. They weren't accessible for a reason. That's why the accessible team is there, to try to be able to make the games more accessible. And it just seemed like they were in constant conflict with each other. So I say all that, and to basically comes down to, I like the game. I like the setting. I like the Viking aspect. I like that story. it's a cool concept that and there's definitely some elements in there that are part of the core RPG that I liked. Even some of the new stuff like the settlements that you can kind of upgrade, and some of the even the gear icon, like the gear that you can kind of you can upgrade more specific gear instead of just sort of finding a ton of gear that you can just sort of pick and choose what would work best. Like there's some of the cooler stuff that I wanted to be able to see. I just wish that they were able to allow the accessibility team or allow the accessibility to kind of help and make it more accessible. So would I recommend this? Maybe. I don't know. There's stuff that's there that is cool that hopefully maybe like it could help you. But if some of the things I talked about make you frustrated, or some of the things that you read about in the in some of the stuff I mentioned, examples I gave, I probably would not recommend it. And that pains me to say it, because I'm proud of the game. I'm proud of the work that they did. I'm proud of the fact that I've got credit, but I got to be honest. I got to talk about it. So I'm just a little bit kind of like even a personal side of thing. I've been conflicted with this for the past few days, trying to be able to come up with a way to be able to convey this without bashing on the game, even though I'm in the credits. Like it just, I don't want to take away the hard work that the developers all did to try to be able to make this game accessible. I applaud them. I've said it before, Ubisoft has done such an amazing job with accessibility in the industry and moving the accessibility forward in the industry that no other studio has been able to match. Last of Us Part 2 is an anomaly in and of itself in the industry, where it's one studio that focused over several years trying to be able to make one game as extremely accessible as possible, and it did that. But Ubisoft as a whole, across multiple franchises, have tried to be able to create this cohesive accessibility suite of options that are amazing and should be applauded. And in the context of everything, of all the games and all in this specific franchise and in other franchises, Ubisoft should be applauded for all the hard work that they have done to try to be able to make these games accessible. But with this, you can see that there's a bit of like internal conflict that like they all kind of, like, I think they need to sort of take a little bit of a step back and sort of reevaluate kind of what they wanted to be able to do. Do they want to make this game accessible, or do they want to try to be able to keep the game core gameplay tenets of franchise past? And I don't know. I'm going around in circles a little bit, and I apologize. This video is a little bit of more of a rant or thing. I don't know. I think it's like, I think Ubisoft has done an amazing job, and they tried really hard for this. But I say this with love. I wish that this game was more accessible. I wish this game was the bastion of accessibility that I wanted to be able to talk about. I wanted another game this year to be able to be as accessible as possible. And this game is just, while great in its attempts, fails in certain areas. And I say that with the ultimate like hurt and love that a parent would when scolding their child or disciplining their child. I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I apologize for this sort of lengthy sort of rant and not edited video. If you made it all the way through to this, thank you. If you liked it, give it a like. I would appreciate it. If you have any questions or feedback, leave a comment in the description down below, or the YouTube down below, or hit me up on Twitter at Steve Saylor, and I will try to answer as best I can. If you want to see more of my videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, make sure you hit the bell notification icon. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, I remain obediently yours. Bye.